not everyone can just
Yeah.
start a nonprofit charity. A lot of challenges come with it.
At that time, we still had to establish the whole fact that, okay, so we're Blueville Charity. We want to start the program, Sara Elizabeth Centre, a place where people can come and be a part of and start this program. Well, God has different plans.
Cris Smith, Executive Director of Blue Veil Nonprofit Charity and mother of 9, leads the Sara Elizabeth Centre with a heart devoted to service. Through inclusive arts-based programs, she creates opportunities for young adults with exceptional needs, inspiring families and building a compassionate community.
We've discussed about your inspiration and your calling, and now we come to this point of your mission. How do you discover this mission?
I think if you look at a charity as a business, because you think it's like we can do this, it's needed in the community, I think it fails because...
So what inspired you to get into a service like this, a nonprofit charity? I'm sure for a lot of other people it would be a pretty scary thing to get into, right? So what inspired you to begin this?
Right. It's funny that you'd ask me this question. You are my son, but you are my 5th son. So the older kids would probably remember better. And and I just assume that as a family, just everybody understands because we're living the reality of what we're doing right now, and it is since 2006. But I'd have to take you back to a few years, just a little bit before 2006. We had an opportunity we had a cousin. You had a cousin. Well, he was my cousin. He'd be your second cousin, and he had a condition called MS. He had MS. And because I had cousins who had muscular dystrophy as well. But this particular cousin was in his 40s. I don't know if you remember him. It was Ernie. Ernie, yeah. Ernie was a very special person, and he was in his 20s. He was engaged. He was going to be married. It was just a shock when we found out that his body just started to neurologically affect him, his nerves, and only to be diagnosed with...
I was pretty young at that point. I remember going to his house, and I remember being not able to talk to him. I think he was already at a pretty far point where he wasn't able to communicate. He was in a bed in the living room. His parents were taking care of him. But I remember it being very sad, but also happy moments with the parents and you and everyone.
Yeah, you weren't born yet when he got diagnosed. He was in his 20s. But as the years progressed and then he was close to his 40s, because back then it wasn't like today that they could start really giving you treatment and giving you some sort of medical attention that can extend life or make the quality of life so much better. Unfortunately, at that time, the MS Society, they were doing a lot of research still, and he was confined at home in a bed, and of course the parents would give him as much as they could as the quality of life. But there was always these moments of scary moments where he'd aspirate or he couldn't breathe and he'd end up in the hospital. And we always thought, this is it. This is the time. Ernie's not coming back home. And somehow he conquered it and fought it. Well, this one time, and it was close to the year that we decided to found the charity. Okay, it was around that time. We didn't know yet that we were going to do the charity. It all started with the inspiration, I think, of... Well, I know it was Ernie. So what happened was Ernie really ended up in the hospital in really bad shape. And we thought, this is it. And like I said, he made it back home. But what made it different, though, and we were worried, is that he's going back home without the conveniences that he had in the hospital that helped him get better, which was a bed that was beautifully constructed where it would pat his back, it would lift it, the mom didn't have to lift and use, all these other tools that were not as convenient because they didn't have all the conveniences that maybe they might even have today, going back, almost 18 years. So he was in that condition where that bed, we realized he needs that bed. He needs to have something like that at home if he's going to go home and have quality. That would have been difficult because, unfortunately, when you give to the MS Society, they continue to do research, but they can't give to families specifically because that's just their mandate. And I guess every charity has their reasons of how they do research and how they raise money. So we realized, well, then how do we help a family that is in need, right? And I said to our family, I said, you know what? We have to do something. We have to get Ernie this bed. And we knew it was close to $10,000. And we said, okay, let's get together with the family. Let's meet. Let's see what we can do and raise this money. Anyway, I don't know if you probably don't remember at this time yet, eh? Like you don't remember me?
I remember the bed point when he's in the living room in the bed.
Right. But you don't realize the logistics that went behind it then that really
And
inspired.
also, is there a difference from him being home? Because I know a friend who has a father with MS who isn't home, is not taking care of from their parents. I don't know if he has parents to take care of him, but that's the situation
he's probably in. Older, and because now, as I said, maybe medically they're able to extend the life, and so as they get older, your parents are probably older than you, and they can't take care of you.
I've seen where he's at right now, and it's kind of the people who are running those places, it's not on them, but it is kind of a dark place,
Well, because a whole family setting, when you're surrounded by family, then you feel a little bit alienated, and hopefully family will go visit. So it's like these agencies, I'm sure they're doing the best they can to give them a family setting, but home is home. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. So in order to keep him home, and his parents were wanting to do that, it is difficult though, because they're aging, and again, how are they going to... Anyway, so we had made the decision we were going to do something. We had your Uncle Dominic came over. We had your brothers and everything. So we sat down and we said, okay, what can we do? Can we do a fundraiser? Can we do some sort of a gathering? And now, in the meantime, we had also done work with young adults, babies. I had done Sarah's Corner. I had worked with Sarah. Maybe you remember that. I did Sarah's Corner for 3 years. It was a grant, and it was just with babies. The money ended, the grant ended, and that was...
Just briefly to explain, that was created through,
we had
Sarah,
an opportunity.
Who was born with child's only 13.
Yeah.
For the people who don't know that story, just briefly kind of mention this.
Well, you're the fifth, then we had a sixth, then we had Marianne, who was a seventh, and then when we had our eighth child, she was so we have 6 boys. You're the fifth of the 6 boys. Then we had Marianne, that's the 7th, and then Sara Elizabeth, our daughter, your sister, was the 8th child, and then after her came Stephanie, our 9th. But Sarah survived 26 days, and there is a whole documentary that you did. There's a whole story behind it. I've written a book about it.
Coming up at some point. It just has to go through the festivals first, but hopefully soon.
and I wrote a book about it too, because the story has so much in it. But the bottom line is, she did survive only 26 days. If she had survived, she would have been multiply handicapped. And we realized that God had a purpose and a plan for every child that's born. And so we realized that shortly after she had died, sick kids had called me and they said, would you talk to this parent who has a baby that's dying? And I thought, wow. So I thought, okay. And I did. I had the opportunity to connect with this parent. And then a good friend said, would you run a program? Because she got funding for a grant to run a program for babies with special needs. So every Wednesday with these babies, I was able to get together with these moms and just do like an early years program that's available now. But these were for babies with special needs. I had so much fun, and it was such a healing for me, for us and our family, because
we have the charity Sara Elizabeth Centre, and that was called Sarah's Corner before.
That was Sarah's Corner, right? And then when that ended, and it had nothing to do with us, that was just me helping out, another charity and so on. When we ended, everybody in the family said, Mom, wouldn't it be nice if you started something like Sara Elizabeth Centre? I said, no, this is not something I'm even thinking about, right? And then the Ernie situation happened with your cousin. We got together with the family, and we wanted to do this whole raising funds. And they said, Mom, you see, if you had a charity, you'd be able to do this, and you'd be able to help families and so on. And I said, listen, guys, if this is what God wants, because, spiritually I'm deep in prayer in that sense that I look for guidance. And I basically said, Lord.
So would you say...
So quietly, I said to myself, if it's what you want, and it does happen, because these things cost a lot of money. You can't just start a charity. And your Uncle Dominic was there, and he's an accountant, and he has connections in the sense of knowing key people, and he listened to what we would like to create, like what our dream, right? But I said, no, that's too expensive. That's not something that's in our plan, and let's not even go there. Let's just see how we can help Ernie. Dominic was listening quietly, and he really did appreciate what this was all about. And he gives me a call a couple of days later, and he said, Cris, he says, were you serious about the fact that if the funds were there, you would start the charity? And I had already prayed that. And I said, Lord, if you want it, I will say yes. But then you've got to make it happen. And I didn't know where it was going to go. And so Dominic said, Dominic is, we're Italian, so he said, Uncle Dominic, right? He said, were you serious about this? And I said, yes, Dominic, but again, where are we going to get $5,000 to start a charity? You have to register nonprofit charity. He said, well, I spoke with someone and they're willing to do it pro bono. And I went, okay, that was it. Mm-hmm. The Lord had found a way for us to do it. So we just had to give our yes. So the point I'm trying to make, Joe, is that we had to give our yes. We had to be in a spirit of giving and wanting to serve, and then the Lord will do the rest. And this is what I really believe.
We had Ernie who inspired you, but then you had your community of people who also inspired you. Yeah. Would you say that's how God spoke to you and to guide you through this mission? Is that the defining moment, your community of people?
You know what? When I pray, I leave it to God in providence to show me an answer. And yes, you're right. It could be through our family. It could be through strangers. It could be through connections that we make. So through our community, our church, I always find that the answer will come, and it could either be an inspiration. It could even be just an inspiration. He puts a vision in my heart. I really believe he put a vision in my heart, because it's like, okay, I said yes, you put a vision in my heart. How do I explain it to everyone? And yet everyone had their place of how they felt they fit in as well. But I feel like I'm that protector, is like, okay, we're going to do it, but Lord, you keep guiding us, and okay, and I'll stick through it, And that's what happened. Then we were able to put together, we registered the charity. The lawyer that did it pro bono just loved everything that we were all about, our mandate, that we wanted to work with young adults with special needs, give opportunities to families that could be part of a community and be very much arts-based. Because what I discovered with you guys, having a large family, I realized you all learn differently. You can't all learn linear. A lot of you were very creative. And so you either got labeled because it was like, you're not following the path, and maybe they could have called you a little bit learning disability, but which is just basically learning differently. Mm-hmm. And so as long as we were able to...
Well, that's why I'm so connected to Sara Elizabeth Centre. Not only have I been working here for almost a decade now, but, I've had my challenges in school, and, that inclusivity that we have in the center makes so much sense to me, because I got taken away from my class, and I felt different, and I just wanted to be a part of my peers. But they took me away, and it made me feel different, and I just didn't want to be around them anymore. The system wasn't built around me on how I wanted to learn. Until I got older, I learned how to learn myself.
And the music has always been a part of our family as well, because you all expressed yourselves through the music. So everybody says, oh, you've got such a musically inclined family, but the reality is music was your language, because it is the language of the soul. And that's why Sara Elizabeth Centre, we really gravitated towards the arts, because the one thing we understood from raising our family, raising our 9 children, that arts was very important. Creatively, being able to express yourself, whether it was verbally, but if you couldn't do it verbally, you found a tool through visual, through composition. Some of the boys couldn't maybe express themselves, and yet they could write songs. And
so where is God highlighted in these? Because I know for you as a person and your belief, you're always telling me about these symbols or things that God has shown you. So how do you find those in these certain moments? Going back to how you were inspired through your community and all that, and your Ernie. So let's continue on that. How do you actually sit on it and say that was this is my calling to do this because God spoke to me in this way? How do you know God spoke to you?
I think when you try to resist things, you realize God's putting you in a position that you feel a little uncomfortable too. Like, I mean, I have a personality that I don't have problems speaking or whatever, and yet recognizing what was about to happen, that, oh my God, you made this happen. We're getting it registered. Okay, so the charity's registered. Okay, let's start small. Let's help Ernie, right? So we did a fundraiser for Ernie. We got enough money to raise money for a bed, and then the difference of it actually went towards starting Blue Veil Charity. Mm-hmm. And then, yes, it is Sara Elizabeth Centre, which is
I do have that question. I know that you started in 2006 in Sara Elizabeth Centre and all that, but actually I don't really know why you have the two names, right? The Blue Veil Charity and then Sara Elizabeth Centre. Now I have an idea of it, and obviously Mother Mary is very present in our family and our lives, so I would make sense to that. But what is the actual reason?
Well, it's funny because when we started the charity, I didn't do it alone. It was founded by the family, so I had Jeff, your older brother, Phil, Donnie. They literally were a part of the team with myself that we were going to run this charity, but we had to give it a name. So that's why you wouldn't remember. Again, you were sort of like at the tail end, like you've grown up so much now that you're saying, wait a minute, tell me the story now, right?
Because when Sarah was born and we went through those events of Sarah, I was only 7 years old. So things were kind of, and I was also going through the stress of the school system too. So things were kind of fuzzy, but
you were still developing
so a lot of highlights, right?
You were developing your own abilities. You see, that's the difference. You were developing your abilities, but yet the school was looking at it as addressing your disabilities. Okay, I'm not trying to single you out. I'm just saying in general, when a child has certain disabilities, they look at disabilities. But I think my way of looking at everything was, no, they have so many abilities, right? So the ability to express yourself through the music, through the arts, through drama. You guys were always into drama and stuff, right? So I think it was looking at the abilities. So when I was able to get your three brothers and say, okay, we're doing this charity as a family, as founders, not myself. Like, yes, I'll be involved, but you guys are the artists. You have to be part of it because we're going to do the arts. So
because it all began with the older brothers. I wasn't in the picture for quite a while, but
and then your fourth brother, David, they needed a bassist. So they said, David, you're part of it. He didn't have a choice whether he liked it or not. But you know what? He's so talented. He became a part of it. But the three older ones literally stopped their opportunities, let's say, to go get jobs elsewhere because they made it, we are going to be part of Sara Blue Veil Charity. Okay, so how did we get Blue Veil Charity? So it was a charity. It was a nonprofit charity registered, but we had to come up with a name. And we prayed about it, and it's like, but Jeff's the one that got the inspiration. Because I couldn't think of it, and we knew that we wanted the program to be called after your sister, Sara Elizabeth, but we didn't want the charity to be called Sara Elizabeth. The program, yes, but what do you name the charity? Well, Jeff, I guess, got inspired one day. Well, no, we know he got inspired. He says, Mom, I really would like to call it Blue Veil Charity, right? Blue Veil. He came up with the word Blue Veil. And he says, I really feel that, first of all, he has a devotion. We all have had a devotion in our family. Again, whether you realize it or not, but as little kids, I couldn't watch all of you guys all the time and everywhere you went. I needed help. And so I said, Mother Mary, you got to help me. You're like a mama. You've got to be there with me. Keep, I'm consecrating them to you. Put your mantle around them. Keep them safe. Between that and the guardian angels, I knew you guys would be safe. But Mother Mary was very much a part of our family. So I think that stayed close to Jeff's heart. And he was born in May anyway, so there was that connection. And he wanted to name it after, he thought of Mother Mary. And he just thought of her beautiful blue veil. And we said, okay, that's so beautiful, right? And it's really funny because people may say, oh, it's because you're Catholic and Mother Mary. Okay. But you know what? Blue veil has also very symbolically for Christians because there's in Scripture, there's a part where it says that when Jesus died, the veil tore. Like right at the moment that he died, he took his last breath, the veil in the temple tore. So the veil in Scripture is very, very symbolic too. So it may have different meaning for others, but I think that's the whole point, that the veil itself is very symbolic, right, of the mission. Because Jesus died, but now the mission begins. Now the journey begins. And so it was very, very symbolic in that way.
So we discussed about your inspiration and your calling, and now we come to this point of your mission. How do you discover this mission?
Again, it was really an opportunity to say, okay, Lord, now we've registered.
What is the mission for?
Yeah, well, the mission is to work with young adults with special needs where they can come to a place where they can, where differences don't matter, where inclusivity is part of it. Now, I know that word today is being used a lot, inclusivity, but in those days, when we started in 2006, it was...
like I said, inclusivity was important to me, just as in the school system. So for us to have the center where they're a part of the retreats with the kids, the school kids that come, and having them, the community just coming, being a part of the programs and stuff, that's inclusivity,
The inclusion where young adults come, they may have a physical or mental delay. And so what happens is their interaction with kids their own age or staff that's also young at heart and are able to connect, that really makes a difference. And then the whole difference with us was that we offer retreats where schools would come to visit us, only because now we have a permanent location. But I know we're jumping all over the place. But when we first started, we did not have a permanent location like we do today. At that time, we still had to establish the whole fact that, okay, so we're Blueville Charity. We want to start the program, Sara Elizabeth Centre, a place where people can come and be a part of and start this program. Well, God has different plans. You may already think one thing, but there's a process and there's a journey. And I think it's like anything. It's got to be step by step. And he teaches you. And if you're patient and you believe and you don't let, like, again, I think it's like I said, I had the vision in my heart, and if I wouldn't let it go, there were times like, I can't do this. And then it's like, okay, maybe others aren't understanding it because I'm seeing it. And I could say, yes, we can continue like this. Not that I was in charge, but it was just like, is it following that vision, right? That vision of what we want to see. And sometimes it was discouraging because you're saying, okay, but we don't have any funds. How are we going to do this? We're starting with nothing. We have to survive. So we thought, let's start with the school board. We went to the York Catholic District School Board. They were the first ones. We went to them. We went to introduce ourselves. The boys came. We had the djembe. We did a song or two. And, the boys, your brothers. They're very, they sing from their heart. And they sang a very beautiful spiritual song. And, it's like an opening prayer.
Yeah, when we did the interview with one of our supporters, Laura, at some point in the interview, we just kind of shut off the notes and stuff, and we just kind of had our conversation, and at the end of it she's like, it's better when I can just speak from my heart. And that's always what it's about. Even when I edit stuff here, it's like when you do it from the heart, there's such a difference. So
I know, and that was it. So we presented and we explained what we are. We're a charity. We're trying to create awareness for Sara Elizabeth Centre, and we'd like to connect with the young adults in the school. And they're talking amongst themselves, and we don't know what's going on. But you see, God had a plan, and we did not know it was going to go in this direction. So they're talking to each other, and they're going, okay, so what you're saying is wonderful, but what we would like to do is, would you be able to come and present your idea? Next week, we have a presentation to all the school chaplains. You can present to them. And we're going, okay. And so we went and we presented. So I was on the podium. We presented what we were all about. And your brothers played a couple of songs because that was the whole point. They're musicians. They opened up because that's what they were hoping, that we would open the prayers and all that. Yeah. They did a great job because your brothers are very entertaining, but very much from the heart. Yeah. I said what we're doing. Anyway, one of the chaplains came up to me at the end and he said, would you be available this Saturday to come to our school, Our Lady of Grace in, I forget where it was. It was far. I don't know if it felt far. I think it was Kleinberg. Maybe now Kleinberg's not that far, but no, it was far. I can't remember where it was exactly. But he said, it's a Saturday night. The students are all having a fast. So they start Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday they go home. But we got to keep them entertained. Do you think you can come and entertain them at 11 o'clock? And we're going, oh, okay. And we'll pay you too. And we went, oh my God. And not only that, the school also gave us, a donation. And we went, oh my God, we were doing it from our heart, but they started to help us. And we thought, Lord, thank you so much. We went to the school and that just started opening the doors. We connected with the chaplains. We were able to start doing the retreats. And then we were doing musical performances in schools. Your brothers came up with this wonderful opportunity for schools to book Blueville band. They created a band, even though they had their own stuff. We created the Blueville Charity, created the Blueville band. And for 5 years, they toured. We've hit so many schools in Dufferin, Peel, York, Toronto. They would do musical performances on stage to like all the school in the gym, glow sticks and all, with themes on anti-bullying, character building. So all the songs were contemporary, so all the kids could sing. Anyway, so that's how we survived for 5 years, but never losing sight of the mission. I'm going, when is this going to happen? And then you know what? And this is what I'm going to explain why I'm going to bring this all together. We knew we wanted to work with young adults with special needs, but when we were doing these things in the schools, what would happen is we would connect with the classes and we would have them come on stage with us. So we were always including the very kids that they thought, well, no, can they be a part of this? Yes, we would make them a part of it. They were 15, 16. By the time we opened our center, Sara Elizabeth Centre in 2010, a permanent location, the kids who were 16 that we had met were now 21 and needed a place to go. That's the beautiful, Joe, I don't know if you realize that, but that's the beautiful thing.
It is funny when I do go out, because we all look similar as brothers. So when I go out, sometimes now they're older, like, oh, you're the Fairchild brother, the drummer. I'm like, no, I'm not. But
Blue Veil, you're Phil. No, I'm not. I'm Joe. Yeah, I know.
So they definitely made an impact.
Yeah.
But to sum this all up in a nutshell, this is your journey. But for others who are in your shoes, like I said at the start, like this is, not everyone can just start a nonprofit charity. A lot of challenges come with it. There are. And obviously faith was a big part of this in directing and guiding you. But what would you say to others who are in your shoes now, maybe not doing the same thing, but who are getting discouraged at the moment, or just something to leave off with them?
I think if you look at a charity as a business, because you think it's like, we can do this, it's needed in the community, I think it fails, because you've got, and then you're dealing with so many different personalities and different people. I think you have to really stay quiet and let that vision become a vision in your heart. It has to be something that speaks to your heart first. And then from there, if it's genuine, I don't think you even have to go search too far for all the people. It's like, that movie, if you build it, they'll come. I think if you have that vision and you start sharing it, because you're very selective of who you share what's precious. It's like you don't throw your treasures to anybody. You hold on to it very humbly. You maybe mentioned, just like your uncle, he listened and he said, were you serious? And it's like, yeah. And it's like, okay. And I think it will start coming to you. Now, you may think, yeah, okay, can you just sit back and wait for that to happen? You can communicate with those that you feel that will listen to your heart. Because if you're just going after an entrepreneur who's going to give you money, it may lose the vision. It may go in a direction you didn't want it to go. It could start very small, and it's okay if it's small. It doesn't have to be something big. I think it will take its time to grow to where it needs to go. Grow to where it needs to go.
Follow your heart. Do it from the heart.
Yeah. Right. And one of the things I teach all the time is listening with the ears of your heart. Yeah. Well, I think you have to put it in your heart, and then you listen to what's in your heart, and you protect it. And then don't worry, God will open the doors for you. I really believe that. Now, what if someone doesn't believe in God? What if they're not spiritual? But if there's a goodness in them, then that goodness will also be picked up from the ones that want to work with you. He will send you the right people. Just because we started the arts didn't mean that we could just pick any artist just because they were artists. It had to be the right art. Joe, I say this about you all the time. You're a photographer, a videographer. You do all this work with our SEC, short for Sara Elizabeth Centre videos. And when you worked with our young adults who are being taped, you know the patience it takes. You know the way that you can bring out the best. So if an artist can bring out the best in that young adult,
admit, though, it took some time. Being a part of them and working with them. They taught me patience and definitely love. That's a big one.
You had to help them. You had to help them. This is our mandate, helping them discover. So we as staff and we as volunteers and people that are working, support workers, we have to help them discover their abilities, because maybe they didn't have a chance to it. We have to help them discover their ability. Then we have to nurture it to say, okay, how can we bring it out more? And then when you see it bring out, then our motto is, shine like a star. Then you make them shine. And what I think you always do is you make them shine.
I never underestimate them, because when I work with them, they surprise me. It's amazing how they can act and listen and
And I think you would agree with me. The staff that we have at SCC is so powerfully able to bring out the best in them. We have the artists, we have Elizabeth, we have Donnie, we have you, we have Philo, we have Juan. We have so many that are there and are truly there because they look at it as a mission, a ministry, a work that is not a job anymore. I really do believe I am speaking from the heart, from their heart. So I think we understand each other, but then how do you convey and communicate it with others? But I think people can tell when you share something, they could tell if you really are sharing from your heart or from your spirit, from what's a love, or is it just, a made up, okay, this is what I need to say. So I hope we've conveyed that in some way, and help people understand that there's always a journey where you yourself don't even know where you're going to go. You don't have all the answers, but you have to trust. You have to believe in yourself and in the people that God sends you and in your family. Because you know what? We did it as a family too, right? We were a large family and we had a lot of challenges that come with large families, but it's not about the material things. It's about the desire and the wanting for others in service that you find yourself being so satisfied, right? So I think you've been fulfilled in your work as well. So.
I have, yes. Anyways, thank you for being here tonight and sharing. As the founder of this nonprofit charity, speaking from your heart, but also being here, chatting to your son and son to a mother.
Yeah.
So it's been fun.
Yeah.
And if you like to close off with a prayer, that'd be great.
Okay, one of the prayers we do, I hope I can remember it by heart, because one of our participants, he can do it right by heart. But we do this every day at Sara Elizabeth Centre, and it's a unity prayer because it brings us all together. And it basically says, "My adorable Jesus, may our feet journey together. May our hearts gather in unity. May our thoughts be as one. May our souls be in harmony. May our ears listen to the silence together. May our glances profoundly penetrate each other. And may our lips pray to the Eternal Father to gain mercy. Amen."
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much for watching. In today's video, we shared the inspiring work my mom, Cris, is doing for the Sara Elizabeth Centre, supporting families with young adults with special needs. I'm so proud to be part of this journey with her. If you enjoyed this, please like, share, and comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support helps spread the message of faith, hope, and love. To learn more, visit www.blueveil.org and check out my mom's book, The Heart of Listening. I'll see you guys on the next video.